episode of After Dark Fairy Tales. I want to welcome you to Volume 1 of True Scary Stories. Now these stories are claimed to be true, and this is Volume 1. The first story I'm going to narrate is titled Mystery Guest. Are you ready? Here we go. A few years back, I lived with my mother and German Shepherd in a 2-bedroom rented town home. I got home from work one day and went about my daily routine. When it came time to eat dinner, I knocked on my mom's door to come and eat. I smelled cigarette smoke and heard her grunt a response, so I went back down and ate alone. I figured I would just put a plate away for her. Fast forward to about 2 a.m., I am awoken by someone holding my hand and gently shaking it. I immediately shoot straight up and look around. My dog, who is overly protective and sleeps with me every single night, isn't in bed. She isn't even in the room. She most definitely was on my bed when I went to sleep. I sleep with the bedroom door shut and locked. She is scratching at my closed and locked bedroom door from the hallway. Frantic, I bolt for the door, let her in, and she is searching the whole room. I'm now yelling for my mother. No answer. I force my dog to walk down the hallway with me. I still smell cigarette smoke. I bang on my mom's door. No answer. So I just open it. She isn't even at home. The bed is made and her TV is off. My dog and I searched the whole entire house. Nothing is out of place. All the doors and windows are still locked. I was freaked out, to say the least. The next day, I called my mom, and she told me she left early the day before to go visit my sick grandfather. Wow, that's creepy. So who was that mystery guest? Well, story 2. This one is titled An Abandoned Farm. I used to have a penchant for wandering around abandoned buildings when I was in high school. One time, a friend and I decided it would be a good idea to explore a farmstead that hadn't been in use for years. The whole experience was really bizarre. The farmstead was accessible by a long gravel road that brought you to a cluster of dilapidated buildings around a central barn. We parked at the end of the gravel road near the turnoff to the main road so we could walk around the property and just pull out quickly later. We went into the barn first, and there were deer bones arranged in a circle around the skull and a bunch of blankets and wood stacked in a corner of the room. We thought it was really cultish and weird, noped and started walking back to the car. Halfway down the gravel road, we heard crunching, heavy footsteps, and someone screeching behind us. Blood-curdling screeching. We sprinted back to my car and tried to peel out of there as fast as possible, but it had snowed the night prior, and my back tire was stuck in a puddle of melted snow. My friend was screaming because she was so freaked out but wouldn't turn to look at the path behind us. By the time I had gotten the car unstuck, she turned around to see if there was someone following us, and there was no one there. It could have been a bird or something, but we both swear up and down to this day that someone was following us. I actually thought I was going to die that day. story 3. This one is titled A Clan Ritual. A friend of mine, who I think is trustworthy, was driving home on country roads late one night. He decided to take the gravel shortcut past an old cemetery. He noticed several trucks and lights at the cemetery, so he started to pull over to see what was going on. There were a bunch of motherfuckers in white hoodies in a circle. Some sort of clan ritual, we think, but don't really know. He noped out of there really fast, but some of them saw him and followed him in his car all the way back to town. Wow, that was short and creepy. Now, on to story 4. This one is titled Walking in the Dark. So, I visited my ex-mill in rural Georgia over the summer a couple years back. We're talking deep rural south. No light pollution, so you can see a billion stars and the actual Milky Way across the sky. Well, the night I went, it was one of those slim crescent moons, so it was even darker than normal. I can't see my hand at the end of my outstretched arm, levels of dark. I'm walking their little rat dog around the yard along the edge of a forest, and I'm probably 200 yards from their little trailer, which is the only source of light besides my flashlight. This little rat dog stops dead in his tracks and starts trembling. He looks up at me with his bug eyes popping out. I hear a rustle of leaves and a twig snap, maybe 20 feet to my left. I scoop the rat up and start power walking back to the house, looking in all directions with the flashlight. Once I get halfway back, I hear a blood-curdling, high-pitched scream from hell. It sounded like a woman was getting stabbed. This is some hills have eyes shit, and I'm gonna die. I ran as fast as I could, back to the trailer. That was creepy. Are you ready for story 5? This one is titled A Gift from a Ghost. This one is kinda creepy, but also kinda comforting. This story was told to me by my grandmother, who is a no-nonsense kind of broad, so I believe every word of it. My grandma had a neighbor, friend, who unfortunately lost her husband when she was young, about 40 or so years ago. It was a sudden death, cardiac arrest or something like that. So this woman was so upset because for a couple of years after his death, she couldn't dream of her husband. For some reason, it really bothered her that she couldn't experience a dream with him in it. It's almost like she wanted it for the comfort. Anyway, some time passes, and this woman is preparing to sell her house and move closer to her kids. They lived a state over. Suddenly, she gets her wish. She starts dreaming, and her husband is in them. She has multiple of these dreams, and in every one, her husband wakes her up, sits down on the bed, and starts speaking to her. However, his speech horrifies her. It was described to me as backwards or garbled. I imagine it to be something similar to the way Twin Peaks characters speak in the Black Lodge. So yeah, pretty goddamn creepy. She can't make a single word out. A few days before, she's about to move out for good. She goes to bed and dreams of him again. The dream is the same, except she understands one word he says. He grabs her in the dream, and repeatedly says, "Rafters," almost seeming panicked. She wakes up, rattled, but returns to sleep. The next day, as she's finishing up packing in the basement, she looks up and sees the rafters. She remembers the dream and is compelled to reach into them. She does, and pulls out thousands of dollars worth of World War II bonds her husband had purchased without her knowledge. She swears he never told her about them, so he appeared in her dream to tell her so she wouldn't leave all those bonds behind when she sold the house. Story still gives me chills today. Story 6. This one is titled Mystery Tooth Fairy. This is less scary, horrifying, creepy, and more. Unsolved mystery that still bugs me. When I was 5, the tooth fairy came and left me a quarter for my tooth. She also left me this beautiful, intricately carved wooden pencil box. In the morning, my parents both asked me where I got it. I told them the tooth fairy brought it. Almost 30 years later, my parents still swear up and down it wasn't them. They've confessed tons of other things they did, so I believe them when they say it wasn't them. I would like to know where that thing came from and who put it there. Now this one is story 7, and this one is titled Tea Shop of Horror. When I was younger, my mom, my grandma, and I liked to go to this little frou-frou tea shop that was about 40 miles from our home. It was a cute little place where you could get the classic tea and sandwiches and cute little desserts and all. One time we went, all was normal, but on the way home we received a call that my other grandma had passed away. Very sad, but as she had been battling cancer, not exactly unexpected. The next time we went, a few months later, on the way home, we received a call that my uncle had died suddenly of a heart attack. Creepy coincidence for sure, but we still did not think too much of it at the time. We went back a third time a few months after that, and for the third time, on the way home, we received a phone call that someone had died. This time, it was my grandpa's brother. We never went back to that tea shop again. Now, all of these people were elderly and not exactly in the best of health, so them passing away around the same time was not exactly creepy. But the fact that 3 separate times that we went to this place, 3 people died the same day, and we received the calls on the way home, makes me think something about that place was cursed. It has since closed, but I'm still nervous to even go to that area to this day. Story 8. This one's titled, And Another Haunted Tea Room. This was circa 2001 between 2003 in Morgantown, Indiana, at a place called Auntie M's Tea Room. Sadly, it is no longer there. On 3 separate occasions, while cleaning up after closing time, I heard what sounded like a small child crying. It was soft, and every time I tried to walk towards the sound, it seemed to grow further away or move into a different part of the restaurant altogether. It was unnerving, to say the least. A friend of mine worked there with me, and once after hours she heard me call her name from inside the stockroom, and at the same time, I heard her call my name from the front of the restaurant. We ran into each other on our way to answer the calls. We were both very confused when we realized neither of us had actually called the other at all. Lastly, and most chillingly, two people I knew passed away very shortly after eating at Auntie M's, and I was the person that served them their last meals on both occasions. One passed in an accident, the other of a heart attack. Was just their time to go, but it really creeps me out that in that restaurant I served two different people their last meals on Earth. Well, did you like those so far? I hope so. I hope I numbered them right, because the stories that were shared, they don't have numbers, so I think that was story 7. So I'll be back with True Scary Stories Volume 2, and I have some more creepy tales for you. I want to thank you for listening to this, and I hope you enjoy some of the stories. I know these are very short stories, but these are true accounts. And I have more, and I'm going to share Volume 2. And I'm glad that the author gave me the opportunity to share these with you guys. And I'm also going to share the link of the author who shared these accounts. They're actually a journalist, but I'll share it probably in Volume 2 or even Volume 3, because there's a lot of these stories, and they are supposed to be true. So let me know if you like Volume 1, and Volume 2 will be coming out very soon. And I want to thank all of you for listening, and I want to thank you for your support, and I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, good night, my darling.